One day somebody does something unspeakable to someone else, to someone you hardly knew, and you do something about it, because you can.
This story is brought to my attention by one of my viewers. The story comes to us from Mississippi Today. Another former law enforcement officer has pleaded guilty to charges tied to a federal crackdown on drug trafficking in the Mississippi Delta, home of the blues. Former Greenwood police officer Jamario Sanford pleaded guilty last Friday to charges involving the transportation and distribution of cocaine through LaFleur, Sunflower, and Washington counties. Now, Sanford also pleaded guilty to conspiracy. He was indicted for accepting a $5,000 bribe from an FBI agent posing as a Mexican drug cartel member in exchange for protecting illegal drug shipments on June 22nd of 2022. He was paid an additional $7,800 in bribes, partly for future jobs. Sanford had also been indicted for carrying or using a firearm during drug trafficking in an attempt to aid and abet a transport of illegal drugs. But the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Mississippi dropped the charges as part of Sanford's plea agreement. Now, U.S. Chief Judge Deborah M. Brown of the Northern District of Mississippi asked Sanford to describe any medication he takes to determine his fitness to enter a guilty plea. He said he takes medications for nerve pain, anxiety, and depression. Sanford, who walks with a cane, said he had experienced emotional trauma and physical pain after being shot in 2024. He also described how, while working as a police officer in Shaw in 2014, he struggled with a suspect after an officer-involved shooting. He said the experience caused him severe trauma. Judge Brown also asked Sanford about getting arrested for simple assault on January 24th. Sanford said the complainant told him the charge will be dropped. But Judge Brown accepted Sanford's guilty plea and set sentencing for May 27th of this year. Brown released Sanford on the conditions of the $10,000 unsecured bond after his arrest. He was arrested on October 30th, along with former Sunflower County Sheriff's Department Chief Deputy Marvin Flowers and Greenwood Police Department Officer Taekwona Rucker, as part of the conspiracy in aiding the transport of illegal drugs. The U.S. Attorney's Office dropped Rucker's charges on October 30th due to exonerating evidence from subsequent interviews with sources. Flowers is set to stand trial on April 20th in Greenville's federal courthouse. Sanford declined to comment to Mississippi Today. Under federal guidelines, Sanford can be sentenced to between 10 years and life. He could also face up to $10 million in fines. On October 30th, the U.S. Department of Justice unsealed 6 indictments which ensnared more than 14 current and former Mississippi Delta law enforcement officers, including former Washington County Sheriff Milton Gaston and former Humphreys County Sheriff Bruce Williams, on drug trafficking charges. The Justice Department charged current and former officers from sheriff's offices in Washington, Humphreys, and Sunflower counties, and police departments in Greenville, Greenwood, Isola, Hollandale, Metcalfe, and Yazoo City, Mississippi. The department also charged Mississippi Delta-based former highway patrolman Markivius Bankhead and former State Department of Corrections guard Marcus Nolan on drug trafficking charges. In a separate indictment, prosecutors allege Sanford recruited DeCarrion Smith, then a law enforcement officer with the Humphreys County Sheriff's Department, and the Isola Police Department to protect a transport of illegal drugs through portions of the Mississippi Delta. Smith pleaded guilty on February 11th to charges of conspiring to transport illegal drugs and for accepting a $500 bribe. And I need to learn how to read. But no, man, these guys, that's a whole slew of law enforcement officers in the Mississippi Delta. Well, guess what, guys? This isn't 1966. It's 2026. Things have changed. Can't do that stuff no more, man. No more white lightning. You know, Burt Reynolds, Ned Beatty. Remember Ned Beatty and Burt Reynolds? White Lightning. If you haven't seen that movie, you need to look at it. It kind of reminds me of that corrupt sheriff in a corrupt county. And everybody loves him and everybody supports him. I mean, you got highway patrolmen, you got police officers, you got sheriff's deputies. Come on. Working for the cartel. Now, the thing is, I was just looking at a movie that Tom Cruise did where he played a true story about a guy from Louisiana who flew drugs for the Mexican cartel, from three of them, Ochoa, Escobar, and there was another one. And he got convicted and imprisoned. Well, he got paroled, and he was out. He was going to make a better life for himself. He said, you know what, I'm done with that. That's behind me. I'm going to better my life. And he was coming out of a business, I think, somewhere. He was in a parking lot walking to his car, and a car drove by him with automatic guns. They gunned him down in the parking lot. He died before he hit the ground. What was his name? I forget. Tom Cruise played him in the movie. But I bring that up because now we're looking at all these cops, and my question is, are these cops going to be targets of the Mexican cartel to shush them up? You know, let's not make them talk. We don't want them talking. Because, you know, the Mexican cartel, they don't play. They don't play. That movie Traffic with Michael Douglas, Benicio del Toro, Don Cheadle, that movie Traffic. There's another movie, Sicario. You know, I'm naming all these movies, but even though they're movies and they're fictional characters, there's a little truth in there. There's a little truth. The Mexican cartel don't want you talking. Loose lips sink ships. And those ships carry cocaine. They don't want you talking about it. What do you guys think? You let me know. You talk to me about it.